Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Today we're going to be doing the Frog Monarch, Glancer Monarch, Light and Darkness Monarch, whatever Monarch deck you want to call it, that I've been playing for the past couple of weeks. If you would like to see the deck in action, a deep synopsis in the deck, you can definitely look at the playlist below. It has 3 great games of the Monarchs, this format. Just amazing, dropping Light and Darkness Dragon and doing whatever I want with the opponent no matter what. Let's get down to the deck profile. We're going to be running 3 copies of Light and Darkness Dragon. Light and Darkness Dragon is the key to the deck. You want this card as fast as possible. Being able to shut down your opponent's resources and to have them waste cards just to get over to Light and Darkness Dragon is key to this deck, because once you simplify the game down, you use your Monarchs to gain advantage over that. Next would be 3 copies of Caius. Caius is the best Monarch in the game. If you're gonna play Monarchs, you might want to run it at the maximum required amount, which is 3. Being able to banish any card on the field, and if it ever so happens to hit a dark monster, including himself, your opponent takes 1,000. Just a really good card, especially when you want to game finish your opponent to have less than 1,000. It's our cowboy, quote unquote. Next, we're gonna be running 3 copies of Ryza. Now, Ryza is really good for spinning those Synchros, Xyzs, and all those other cards on the field to the deck. It also creates a lock when you can get multiples of Ryza in your hand to put that card to the top of the opponent deck. Your opponent draws that card and you have to set it again. You rise it again. He creates game, and it's just so many more combos with him. Daigusto Phoenix because makes him a double attacker. Just a really good card in here. One copy of Obelisk. Obelisk is a game setter on himself, not being able to be targeted, which is a lot of cards like D-Prison, Fiendish Chain, Effect Veilers, all that other stuff love to target. So Obelisk is immune to that. Not only that, you contribute 2 more of your frogs to destroy everything on your opponent's side of the field. But you're mainly going to be using him as a 4,000 nearly indestructible beater that cannot be targeted. An extremely good card in this metagame. One copy of Mobius the Frost Monarch. Sheer back row destruction. This deck does not have a lot of ways to a direct back row, but we do have it in the form of monsters inside of Mobius the Frost Monarch. One copy of Sea Lancer. Sea Lancer is extremely fun because you get to reuse all of your frogs, you get to gain the advantage of your frogs while they're attached to Sea Lancer, and it becomes a 2,300 attack monster that is a nuisance to get over. At the very worst, it takes 2 tries to kill the Lancer. At the very most, it takes 6, which is extremely annoying, just having your opponent grind down on those resources. Next, we're going to be running 1 copy of Mobius the Mega Monarch. Now, I decided instead of running 2 copies of Mobius or Gores or anything, I decided with Mega Mobius, mainly because back row is becoming the thing in this format. Being able to destroy 3 back row and your opponent not having a response to it other than Solemn Judgment, I feel is really good. Not to mention that this deck can support a lot of tribute monsters, being a frog engine. He's basically going to get his effect that your opponent can't activate cards in response almost every single time. Next, we're going to be running 3 copies of Swap Frog. The beginning of the Swap Frog engine, the main card to the Frog engine. Putting your frogs to the graveyard as fast as possible is the key component to winning this game and winning with this deck. 3 copies of Dupe Frog. If all else fails, you get to set your Dupe Frog, and when it's destroyed, you do get to add Swap Frogs in hand. Just really good for helping you get into that engine. 2 copies of Ronnie's. Now, Ronnie is extremely good for being able to special summon himself as long as you banish a frog in graveyard. Helps us fuel our Sea Lancer, fuel tribute summons, and it's just extremely good in this deck. 2 copies of Treeborn Frog, just in case one gets banished. You never know, your opponent can always have something. Getting Treeborn Frog to the graveyard is probably priority number 1, and if all else fails, you can just summon that Swap Frog. If you don't have any other frogs in hand, get that Treeborn Frog in the graveyard and get your tribute summons rolling. Next, for hand traps, we're going to be running 3 copies of Battle Fader. Now, Battle Fader is probably the backbone to the deck, the Threatening Roar, Rabaku, whatever you guys want to call it to this deck, allowing us to stop and attack and special summon himself, then later on becomes tribute fodder. 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler, when you're running a deck like this, you want to be able to stop all your opponent's effect monsters or anything that could get in your way. Effect Veiler can really stop those critical moves. Last for monsters is 3 copies of Maxi. Being able to draw over your opponent's special summoning and gain those bright components to your hand to be able to go off, or have just a standard type hand to have you counter is important, and Maxi is definitely going to grant you that type of advantage. Next, for spells, we're going to be running 3 copies of Econ, Enemy Controller, Econ, same thing. Treeborn Frog plays with enemy controller is crazy. Mainly because during your main phase, you can tribute the Treeborn Frog to take control of an opponent's monster. And since it's still your standby phase, I'm sorry, I said main phase, it's obviously standby phase. Since it's still your standby phase, you can special summon that Treeborn Frog again. Rinse, wash, and repeat until your opponent has no monsters on the field, or until you have the exact necessary components to tribute summon for one of your Monarchs, maybe Obelisk, maybe the Light and Darkness. It's just a really, really good card in this deck. Next is 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, Back Row Disruption, nothing else to be said. 2 copies of Soul Exchange, tributing your opponent's monsters at the cost of your battle phase is pretty dope. 1 copy of Dark Hole. That basically sums up the main board. Now going on to the side deck. Ooh, that's not the side deck. Ooh. The 3rd Typhoon, Back Row Hate, just really want to dress into opponent's back rows. 2 copies of Electric Virus. Now, there's just so many decks that this card hits right now. YuGiOh, Ophion, taking their opponent's Ophion, Heretic Rulers, them new Cyber Dragon stuff. And not only do we get to take their monster, we get to tribute it for one of our Monarchs. That's just one of the things that you just want to have in your sideboard. Next will be Puppet Plant, Noble Knights, Prophecies, any of that other stuff. It's basically the same premise as Electric Virus, something we get to snatch from them and use as our own. 2 copies of Morphing Jar, getting rid of those Synchros and Exceed problematic threats. If your opponent has a wide board, they can prepare to lose a lot of cards on the field just because of Morphing Jar. 2 Meteion, the Time Lord, just essentially for getting rid of those threats as well. This deck does have a lot of problems with those Synchros and Xyz that just can't be destroyed or can't do this and can't do that. So Meteion and Morphing Jar definitely help back the deck up with that type of feeling to it. 3 copies of Vanity's Emptiness. The reason why they hit sideboard is because not all decks special summon this format. This card is not really good against decks like Black Wings, Bujins, just because they don't really need to special summon to get their game going. Fire Fist is another one. But against those decks that really need to special summon, Vanity's Emptiness can practically just shut the deck down, which is extremely good. And then last is 3 copy of Trap Stun. When you want to get off your plays and your opponent wants to stop you, you just trap stun and then keep going. The reason why we chose this over Decree is because you can trap stun on your standby phase and still get your Treeborn Frog and then go about your day getting to all your plays. Next for the extra deck. While the extra deck I feel is extremely solid, there are definitely ways you can change it up, especially since Effect Veiler. The first thing I want to talk about before I even lay down the extra deck is Synchros. I opted to not use any Synchros whatsoever, mainly because my only target was Effect Veiler, and I felt that I should be using Effect Veiler for, I don't know, negating effects. And if all else fails, I can go into a Slacker Magician. I don't expect to draw a triple Effect Veiler against a deck that can't really be Effect Veiler, but it can definitely have another uses. I also have a lot of space issues with the extra deck now since we have so many new Exceeds, so we'll just go through it. 1 copy of Gaia Dragon Thundercharger. Extremely good. If you ever happen to take one of your opponent's rank 5 or 6 monsters, just slap on a Gaia Thunder Dragon and they'll never get the card back. 1 Photon Strike Bouncer. This deck has a lot of ways to summon level 6 monsters, so going into our rank 6 plays are not that hard. Gauntlet Launcher, Double Destruction, M7. This card is probably one of the most nastiest rank 6s for this deck, because if Ryza is one of the pieces for this M7 and your opponent has no way to stop Ryza, it's a Ryza loop, which basically means game for the opponent, period. 1 Down Syndrome Magician. I like Down Syndrome Magician is because I can use any of my rank 2s or my Slacker Magician for her. She's just a really, really nice card to have. 2 Gachi Gachi Kentetsu. 2 Dark Mists. A lot of people underrate this card. I think it's amazing for getting over a lot of those problematic effects with high attack. 2 Diagusto Phoenix. So many FTKs, OTKs, whatever TK, you added TK near it. Diagusto Phoenix is probably a part of it in the Monarch deck. Detaching 1 to have your Thunder Charger attack twice for piercing damage, or Ryza attack twice is just too strong to let go. So we decided to go to 2. There are times where I can Exceed summon for 2 Diagusto Phoenix in 1 turn and inflict 6,000 of damage, which is practically game. The star of the rank 2 deck is Herald of Pure Light, because when you do have those hands that only give you 1 Monarch, that only gives you 1 Monarch for that whole game and you're wondering where's your Monarch, right here. It's going to keep coming back. It's going to keep on recycling that Monarch or that Light and Darkness Dragon. It's just so insane how this card works for this deck. One copy of Slacker Magician because she's a slacker. One Armored Kappa to wrap up the bunch. Once again, if you guys would like to see me play this deck, 3 games are definitely in the playlist below. Thank you guys for watching in this segment of the Cali Effect. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.